Sam Abraham thought he was living his dream when he married his childhood love, Anjali. But behind her sweet smile hid a mind filled with dangerous secrets that would soon turn their fairy tale into a nightmare. Sam Abraham's story began in a small Indian town where life moved slowly and everyone knew each other's names. His childhood was filled with simple joys, playing cricket in the dusty lanes, running errands for his parents, and spending long afternoons under the shade of banyan trees. Among all the children in the neighborhood, there was one who stood out to him more than anyone else, Anjali. She lived just a few houses away, and from their earliest years, they were inseparable. Whether it was walking to school with their heavy satchels, sharing snacks during lunch breaks, or competing in small games, they were always side by side. Their bond was so natural that neighbors often teased them, calling them the little married couple. As the years passed, their friendship matured into something deeper. Teenage innocence slowly gave way to affection, and soon everyone could see they were falling in love. They didn't have to say much. Their eyes carried the story. Villagers admired their closeness, often remarking that it was rare to see such loyalty in young people. Sam, shy and hardworking, found strength in Anjali's presence, while she adored his honesty and quiet determination. By the time they reached adulthood, there was little doubt about what the future held. Their families supported the union, celebrating the idea that childhood sweethearts would soon be bound in marriage. For the community, it was a tale of destiny fulfilled, a love story that had begun in the innocence of school days and now promised a lifetime of happiness. Everyone imagined their life would be smooth, filled with trust, laughter, and the comfort of growing old together. To those around them, Sam and Anjali were proof that some childhood dreams do come true. After the wedding, Sam and Anjali packed their dreams into suitcases and boarded a plane to Australia. For both of them, it was a huge leap from the familiarity of their small hometown to the bustling life of a foreign country. Sam embraced the challenge with determination. He found a job in finance, often leaving early in the morning and returning late at night, exhausted but hopeful about building a secure future. He worked tirelessly, convinced that every hour spent behind a desk was an investment in the life he and Anjali had always imagined. Anjali, however, struggled with the change. While Sam immersed himself in work, she spent long days at home, scrolling through her phone or wandering the city. At first, she tried to adjust, taking on casual jobs here and there, meeting new neighbors, and learning the rhythms of life abroad. She smiled in photos, sent cheerful updates to family back home, and played the role of the supportive wife. Yet beneath the surface, a sense of dissatisfaction grew. She felt isolated, far away from the familiar streets of her childhood and the warmth of the community where everyone knew her name. Sam noticed her restlessness, but believed it was only temporary. He encouraged her to keep busy, to focus on hobbies, or to think about starting a family in the near future. But while Sam poured his energy into stability, Anjali yearned for something different, something unpredictable and thrilling. Nights found her wide awake, eyes fixed on the glowing screen of her phone, while Sam slept peacefully beside her, unaware of what was stirring in her mind. From the outside, they looked like a perfect couple chasing their dreams abroad. In reality, small cracks had already begun to appear. Anjali's quiet frustration with her new life soon took a hidden turn. What started as harmless browsing on her phone became a doorway to another world. She created a secret online identity, choosing a different name and pretending to be someone bold and carefree. At first, she only visited casual forums and social groups, places where she could chat with strangers without anyone knowing. The thrill of anonymity gave her a spark she hadn't felt in years. It was exciting to be seen not as Sam's wife, not as the quiet girl from a small town, but as someone mysterious, someone free. The conversations grew bolder. Random small talk shifted into late-night exchanges filled with fantasies and forbidden thoughts. For the first time, she could express things she had never dared to admit in real life. Each click, each message, pulled her deeper into this second life. She found herself laughing, flirting, and writing words she would never say aloud. Her phone became her secret companion, the place where she lived a version of herself no one else could see. Sam remained completely unaware. He still believed their marriage was steady, and he trusted her without question. While he worked long hours, Anjali used her solitude to feed this growing obsession. The secrecy only intensified her excitement. What began as a harmless distraction quickly became a habit she could not let go of. To outsiders, she was still the devoted wife smiling in photographs. But in hidden chat rooms, she was weaving connections that went far beyond curiosity. The boundary between fantasy and reality blurred, and each conversation brought her one step closer to a dangerous path she was not prepared to leave behind. Anjali's hidden world was no longer just a late-night escape. It became the center of her thoughts. Every morning, she woke up eager to check her phone, scrolling through messages from strangers who treated her like the exciting woman she pretended to be. The double life gave her a rush, and soon she craved more than just words on a screen. Small lies to Sam became routine: shopping trips, casual meetups, or errands that stretched for hours. Behind these excuses were real encounters, carefully arranged and hidden from her husband's sight. The more she indulged, the bolder she became. Anjali discovered how easily she could deceive, how simple it was to smile at Sam over dinner while keeping dangerous secrets in her heart. She formed a circle of acquaintances who encouraged her to embrace impulses she once thought unthinkable. One man, in particular, stood out from the rest. He fed her dissatisfaction with her marriage, telling her she deserved more than the quiet, predictable life Sam provided. His words lingered in her mind long after their meetings ended, planting ideas that slowly grew into obsession. Sam, meanwhile, continued working harder than ever. He believed the sacrifices were worth it, that their future together was secure. He never suspected that while he built a foundation of stability, his wife was unraveling it piece by piece. Anjali's thrill-seeking had turned into a hunger she could no longer control. What began with innocent chats had escalated into a dangerous pursuit of excitement. She was no longer just a restless wife. She was someone drifting further away from reality, feeding a part of herself that demanded more. And with every secret step she took, the distance between her and Sam grew beyond repair. Anjali's restless desires had reached a point where hiding them was no longer enough. The online chats that once gave her a thrill now turned into darker discussions. She began confessing to strangers how trapped she felt in her marriage, how the life she lived with Sam seemed suffocating. Some dismissed her words as dramatic outbursts, but a few encouraged her thoughts, pushing her toward dangerous possibilities. In her secret world, the idea of removing Sam wasn't shocking. It was spoken about like a solution. Among those she confided in, one man took her more seriously than the others. He listened to her complaints, fed her frustrations, and convinced her that freedom could be within reach if she dared to act. Slowly, their conversations moved from vague fantasies to specific plans. They talked about how easily Sam trusted her, how vulnerable he was in the comfort of his own home. Every suggestion was like fuel to the fire already burning inside her. Anjali started to look at her husband differently. She no longer saw him as the boy she had loved since childhood, but as an obstacle standing in the way of the life she believed she deserved. At night, while Sam slept peacefully beside her, she stared at the ceiling, imagining scenarios where he simply disappeared. Her double life had transformed into something dangerous. What had once been playful secrets now carried the weight of real intent. Anjali convinced herself she was justified, that she was only following her heart toward a new beginning. But in truth, she was crossing a line from which there would be no return. The plan was forming in her mind, and soon imagination would turn into action. The night of the crime arrived quietly, with no sign of the storm that was about to unfold. Sam came home late after a long day at work, tired but content to be with his wife. He had no idea that the warm smile Anjali offered him masked a deadly intention. She moved around the kitchen with calm precision, preparing tea as she always did, but this time the cup she placed before him carried a hidden poison. To Sam, it was an ordinary moment of comfort at the end of a busy day. To Anjali, it was the beginning of her escape. Within an hour of drinking, Sam began to feel unwell. His stomach churned, his body weakened, and sweat broke out across his face. He believed it was food poisoning or perhaps exhaustion from work. Anjali pretended to fuss over him, urging him to lie down while secretly watching every reaction with cold calculation. As his condition worsened, she called neighbors and acted terrified, claiming he must have eaten something bad. By the time paramedics arrived, Sam's body had already succumbed to the effects of the poison. Attempts to revive him failed, and he was declared dead shortly after. The suddenness of it all left everyone stunned. How could a healthy, young man collapse so suddenly? His friends, colleagues, and family were devastated. While the community mourned, Anjali played her role as the grieving widow. She wept, clutched at relatives, and repeated that she had no idea what went wrong. On the surface, it was convincing. But beneath her performance, she was already calculating the next steps, unaware that the crime she thought so carefully executed had left behind invisible clues waiting to betray her. At Sam's funeral, the air was thick with grief. Friends and neighbors gathered to pay their respects, shocked at how quickly life had been stolen from someone so young and kind. Anjali stood at the center, dressed in black, her tears flowing in full view of everyone. She accepted condolences with trembling hands, hugging relatives tightly and thanking each person for their prayers. To the casual observer, she looked like a heartbroken widow crushed by tragedy. Her performance was convincing, but not flawless. Small cracks began to show. Investigators had already taken note of unusual signs. Sam's medical tests revealed symptoms inconsistent with natural illness. Toxicology reports pointed toward the presence of poison. These findings raised alarms, and detectives began to examine the details more closely. The first layer of Anjali's carefully crafted mask began to peel away. When police searched her devices, they uncovered the secret accounts she had hidden so well. Messages surfaced that painted a disturbing picture. Chats filled with fantasies, frustrations about her marriage, and discussions that hinted at removing Sam from her life. What had seemed like harmless words to her were damning evidence to investigators. Each message connected the dots between her private desires and Sam's sudden death. Neighbors also recalled unusual details. Some remembered how calm she seemed before calling for help. Others noticed inconsistencies in her version of events. Slowly, the image of a grieving wife began to crumble, replaced by suspicion and whispers. Anjali had tried to stage herself as a victim of fate, but the trail she left behind was too strong to erase. The mask she had worn so carefully was cracking, and beneath it was the truth investigators had been searching for. When investigators finally confronted Anjali with the evidence, the facade she had maintained for so long collapsed. She tried at first to deny everything, insisting she had no knowledge of the poison found in Sam's body. But the weight of the proof was overwhelming. The secret online accounts, the incriminating chats, and the toxicology results told a story that she could no longer control. What she thought were private fantasies had become a paper trail that exposed her darkest intentions. The revelation shocked everyone who knew the couple. Family members in India were stunned, unable to believe that the cheerful girl who had grown up alongside Sam could harbor such thoughts. Friends in Australia, who had admired the couple's journey abroad, now saw a different reality, one where loyalty and love had been twisted into betrayal and greed. News of the arrests spread quickly, turning the case into a chilling example of how hidden desires can destroy lives. As she sat in custody, the image of the perfect wife disappeared forever. Investigators described her as calm, almost detached, when the full truth came out. It was as though she had been waiting for the mask to be torn away. The court proceedings revealed her double life in detail, shocking the public with the extent of her deception. For Sam, there was no justice that could bring him back. His story ended in tragedy, a man betrayed by the very person he trusted most. For Anjali, the fairy tale romance that began in childhood had turned into a nightmare of her own making. What began as a love story admired by many became a cautionary tale, reminding the world that even the brightest smiles can hide the darkest minds.